Hey everyone, this is Yami, your Latina next door. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, I love all things DIY. On my channel, I share how I transform simple items into beautiful pieces of decor, as well as recreating high-end items for a whole lot less. I appreciate sewing my own pieces, as well as decorating for the seasons. Now and again, I'll share some fun shopping hauls. And with the help of my husband Nelson, also known as the Latino engineer, we share some pretty big transformations. So if you are into home decor and DIY inspiration and share my obsession with Dollar Tree, make sure to subscribe so we can share some candid moments and laughter along the way. If you recall, a few months ago I shared this thrift haul. I had purchased both things in a set for $1.99. I will be remaking these two items as well as one additional one for this video. I started with the candlestick, and the first thing I did was take some alcohol and just clean it thoroughly to make sure that all of my paint would adhere properly. My goal at first was to give it my faux galvanized look, which I have a very detailed post on. However, because there were so many ridges on this candlestick, I wasn't able to do it, so I kind of did a different version of it to make it look nice and antiqued, using those same colors and a few other things. So this is what I did. All you need is one full coat of the chalk paint, and this will help the rest of the paints adhere. For the next step, I use the same brushed metal paint in the dark silver that I used for my galvanized look, and I did another full coat around it. I'll have these paints listed in the description box below in case you're interested. Now, if it doesn't cover completely on this one coat, it's okay because you kind of want that layered look. Next, you're going to do another layer in the silver brushed metal paint. If you want a nice pristine metal look, you can stop right here and you're done. However, I wanted this to look nice and rustic and aged, and also have kind of like a salty seaside coastal vibe, so I went a little further. I took some of Debbie Design Diaries white wax, and with my finger I just rubbed it through all of the little creases and the entire surface. After rubbing it on, I would go with a damp paper towel and just remove the excess. Now here you see me trying to get in those nice grooves. Obviously my finger wasn't working, so I tried another method that worked much better. I took a super thin paintbrush and started applying it right in those grooves. Antique metal pieces usually have a little bit of buildup in any grooves that they have, and by applying it this way and then rubbing it off, you can see that it filled those in perfectly. Of course, it still needed one last step, and that was applying my favorite antiquing wax all over it and just kind of smearing it on to make it look a little bit dirty and a little bit older. And I think this completed that look. But I wasn't done with this piece just yet. I had purchased this little plaque from Hobby Lobby for about $3 several years ago, and I never did anything with it, so here we are. And I thought this was the perfect piece for this. I took some of that gray chalk paint that I was working with earlier, and I added a light brown paint that I had. Again, I've had this forever. Look how slow it's coming out. And I mixed it in a little bit, and I also added a little bit of my antiquing wax, and I watered it down all the way so that I can make it into a stain for this piece. I wanted a light coastal look for this wood, and mixing these paints gave me a perfect shade of stain, and then I would just apply it in small sections and remove the excess with a damp paper towel. I did this procedure on both sides and all of the edges of the plaque. After that was dry, I used some of my home decor wax to apply it to the plaque, and again I would apply a small amount and then remove the excess with a lint-free cloth. Afterwards, I used the same procedure that I did with the candlestick to apply white wax to all the little crevices and give it that salty look. And then I took some E6000 and applied it to the top rim of the candlestick and centered it on the top side of the plaque. I made sure it was completely center, let it dry, and this is how it came out. I love all of the layers to that candlestick, the dark shadows, the highlights, the antique wax, and that little white crust in between all those little cracks. And of course, the top was a perfect complement. This came out just how I envisioned, and I know a lot of you guys enjoyed those side-by-sides in my first episode of my thrift store makeovers, so this is how it looks before and after. Now before I get started on my next DIY, I wanted to mention that this video is for my dear friend Heidi Sombel's April Invite Challenge. This was an open invite, and in this challenge, she asked us to create one or more farmhouse-inspired DIYs. I'll have a link to her channel in my description box below, as well as the link for the playlist. So once you're done with this video, definitely give her a visit and let her know that I sent you. Okay, so now it's onto the little container that came with the set. As you can see, this was pretty dinged up as well, so it needed to be painted. And since I like the stack look of how I found it when I bought it at the thrift store, I actually had this cute candlestick from Michael's. They are normally $6 if I remember correctly, but I always use my 40% off coupon with them. And for this one, I actually did give it my galvanized metal look, using the same paints that I used from before for the candlestick that I used for my tray, and actually using my spouncer to give it that galvanized texture. The one thing I did differently here that I haven't done with my previous ones is that I actually did the inside and the outside of the container. I wasn't sure whether or not I was going to use it as a planter or a place to actually put some stuff in and, you know, store like trinkets and stuff. So I went ahead and did both the inside and the outside. And of course I did the spouncer technique with the dark silver and the light silver paints. I also painted this candlestick the same way I painted that plaque from earlier. For the candlestick, I did use a little bit of wax throughout the entire piece this time and rub off the excess to give it more of that beachy feel. I did add a little bit of antiquing wax through some areas at the end, and then it was done. I haven't glued these on together. I would like to know what you guys think, if I should glue it on or keep them separate. I do like the stack look, and I like having flowers kind of droop over the side of it as a nice floral arrangement, but I'd love to know what you guys think. And of course, here is the side-by-side of this little bowl, and I do love how the paint gave it new life. The next transformation is not a thrift store purchase. It was actually a clearance purchase from Ross that I did several years ago. And yes, several. I thought this little statue of this rotary phone was so adorable and I had to get it. But I never used it. I never found anywhere to put it. And I've actually debated sending it through the thrift store myself. However, this reminded me of my grandmother's rotary phone. And I used to love making phone calls on it. So I decided to give it another chance and give it a facelift. Using what I had on hand, I found this Valspar flat black paint, and I've had it for a while, and as you can see, the bottom rim is already rusting, so you know it's been in the garage for a little while, and I decided to give it several coats of this flat black paint. Now this did take several coats since the paint was a little older and it was acting up on me, but it worked out just fine. It was nice in the flat black, but I did want it to look a little bit more authentic, so I took some satin oil rub bronze paint that I already had on hand. As you can see, the bottle looks a little bit old, and I gave it a few coats of this as well. And as I'm painting, you can see that this immediately changes the look of the phone. And that is it for this transformation. That's all it needed, was a couple of coats of spray paint, and I love that oil red bronze and how it gave it that shimmer at the end and made it look nice and old and vintage. See everyone, it pays to hoard. I'm so glad I kept this phone, and here is the side-by-side. And finally, here are my 3 pieces, the 2 coastal farmhouse pieces with the weathered wood and the old metal, along with my antique rotary phone. I hope you like these farmhouse inspired pieces. I would love to know which one of these is your favorite. Don't forget to hit like if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to get more inspiration like this, and don't forget to check out that playlist for even more DIYs. And I will see you guys in the next video. Until then, adios!